Hi class, today we are looking at Chapter 3, Lesson 4, Dividing Rational Numbers. We are learning how to divide positive and negative fractions and how to divide algebraic fractions. Two numbers whose product is 1 is called the multiplicative inverses or the reciprocal. So whenever we have, for example, a number such as 1/2 and we multiply it by 2/1, we notice that we can cross divide the 2's, we're left with 1, so then the answer is 1. And that's what we mean. We take a fraction and we multiply it by the multiplicative inverse, so we multiply it by its inverse, the reciprocal, and then the answer would always result in 1. So another example could possibly be if we have 4/5 times 5/4. Because 4/5 and 5/4 are reciprocals of each other. So what happens is they can cross cancel and it leaves you with a result of 1 again. And that is what multiplicative inverse and reciprocals are. So we want to first find the multiplicative inverse of each number. Example number 1. The inverse of 7/12 would simply be 12/7. You just flip it to its reciprocal. Now, for the second example, example 2, we have -5 4/5. First, we always want to convert our mixed number to an improper fraction. So we have -29/5, and then the inverse of that would simply be -5/29. And that would be considered the reciprocal or the multiplicative inverse. Now go ahead and take a couple minutes and find the multiplicative inverse of each number. Don't forget to change the mixed numbers into improper fractions, then use the inverse. Turn your notes over to the back side now. Now we're actually going to look at how to divide fractions. To divide any number by a fraction, step 1, keep the first fraction the same. Step 2, change the division to multiplication. Step 3, change the second fraction to its reciprocal. That's also known as the multiplicative inverse. Step 4, you cross divide, multiply, and simplify. So for example 1, we have -2/5 divided by 4/25. We want to keep the first fraction the same, -2/5. We now want to change division to multiplication. That's in step 2. Step 3, change the second fraction to its reciprocal. So we're going to flip it to 25/4. Now in step 4, we cross divide. So I can cross divide the 5 and the 25, leaves me with 1 and 5. Then I can cross divide the 2 and the 4, leaves me a 1 and a 2. Then I can multiply 1 times 5, which is negative, because we have that negative in the very front, over 1 times 2, which is 2. So our answer is -5/2, or we can change that back into a mixed number to -2 1/2. And that would be our final result. Then for example 2, we have 1/3, which we will keep the same. Change the division to multiplication, and then in step 3, change the second fraction to the reciprocal. So now we're going to change it to 18/7. Step 4, we're going to cross divide, which means we can cross divide the 3 and the 18, leaves you a 1 and a 6. Now we can multiply what's left over. 1 times 6 is 6, and 1 times 7 is 7. Our final result is 6/7. Now in this section, when you are dividing mixed numbers, change them to improper fractions before you multiply by the reciprocal. So just like what we did with multiplication, we want to make sure that we are using that improper fraction. Otherwise, we will not be able to divide our fractions accurately. So for example 1, we have 1 and 5/8, which we are going to change to 13/8. And once we've changed our mixed number into an improper fraction, I now can change the division to multiplication, so I'm going to multiply. And then the 5/8 is going to be flipped to the reciprocal, so 8/5. Now I can cross divide the 8 and 8, which leaves you a 1 and a 1. And our result is 13/5. Or if I want to convert it back to a mixed number, I just divide the 5 into the 13 and I end up with 2 3/5. So my final answer is 13/5 or 2 3/5. In example 2, we will do the same thing. We must change our mixed number to an improper fraction. So 12 3/5 becomes 63/5. And then in this case, before I multiply by the reciprocal, I want to change the 2 7/10 to an improper fraction. And that would be 27/10. Now I'm going to go on and I'm going to keep my first fraction, 63/5, multiply by the reciprocal, which would be 10/27, and then my second fraction. Now my last step is to cross divide. 5 and 10, which leaves me a 2 and a 1, and then 63 and 27. They both are divisible by 9, so that leaves me a 3 and a 7. So my final answer ends up being 14/3, or if I change it back into a mixed number, it can be 4 2/3. Now go ahead and do the next 4 practice problems on your own. Don't forget to pay attention to integer rules as well as converting your mixed numbers to improper fractions. Then you can use the multiplication of the reciprocal of the second fraction. So always remember to keep the first fraction the same. Now, in our last section, we are dividing algebraic expressions. You can divide an algebraic fraction the same way that you would divide numeric fractions. Step 1, you multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction. So again, we can still multiply by the reciprocal, but only of the second fraction. Step 2, divide out common factors as well as simplify. So now for our first example, we have 12/5x, which stays the same. First fraction always stays the same. Then we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So now it becomes 2x/6. So we can still do cross division, and we can cross divide the 12 and the 6, which leaves us with 1 and a 2. So now in this case, I also noticed something else that I can cross divide. I noticed that I have an x and another x. So I can actually cross cancel those x values. I'm allowed to do that. So I can take an x for an x, which leaves me a 2 and a 5. So my final answer is 4/5, because 2 times 2 is 4, and then 5 times 1 is 5. So my final result is 4/5. Now in example 2, I can do the same thing. I keep the 3 over r, or 3 times r, over s, then multiply by the second fraction's reciprocal. So I have s squared over 4rs. So now in this case, I can actually break things apart, and I see that I have an exponent, which really means s times s. So there are actually two s's. So I can cross cancel this s with one of those s's. So now I'm left with just s. And then the 3r and the 4rs, I can cross cancel the 4 or the r and the r, but the 3 and the 4 have to stay the same. There's nothing I can cross cancel. And the last one I can cross cancel, as you can tell, there is an s in the numerator and an s in the denominator, so those can also cross cancel. So my final result ends up being 3 over 4. So just like in numeric problems, you can cross cancel as well as divide out variables as well. Now take a few minutes and answer the 4 practice problems. Remember to keep the first fraction, multiply by the second fraction's reciprocal. And yes, you can cross cancel and cross divide the variables from one another. Also, you can still cross cancel and cross divide with your numeric values as well.